Picking up on those Russia-Ukraine talks in Istanbul, Moscow's delegation is headed by Russian President Vladimir Putin's aide, that's Vladimir Medinsky, while Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov is leading his group. The Turkish foreign minister was said to chair the trilateral talks, but U.S. envoy Keith Kellogg has indicated that the U.S., alongside the U.K., France and Germany, will also be present in Istanbul. Earlier discussions more than a week ago resulted in the biggest prisoner swap of the war, but fell short of a ceasefire. Attacks still rising ahead leading up to today's discussions, including one of the biggest drone battles since the start of the war. Ukraine says it carried out one of its most successful attacks on Russian soil. Kyiv says Operation Spider's Web wiped out a third of cruise missile bombers at Russian bases. When we're joined by Dasha Chernyshova live in Moscow. Dasha, no breakthroughs, as we mentioned more than a week ago, in the last round, the first round of talks between Russia and Ukraine and Türkiye. Could we see anything different in this second round?
Well, it does seem to many that this time round the positions of the sides are even further apart because of the context in which these negotiations are taking place. We understand that Moscow is coming for these talks in Istanbul with a set of documents, the draft peace memorandum that it will be presenting to the Ukrainian delegation and providing clarifications on its positions, as well as the list of Russian conditions for the temporary truce, something that Ukraine has been demanding. But judging by the statements coming from the Ukrainian side, it does seem to be quite unrealistic to meld those two divergent views into one document. Opening remarks that have been broadcast coming from the Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan suggest that the two delegations will be talking about the meeting at the highest level possible. That is the leaders' summit, that they will be talking about the prospect of ceasefire as well as the positions on the humanitarian issues, including the further prisoners of war exchange. So we understand that Russian delegation has been insisting that there should be the wider negotiated settlement for this conflict, for the truce to be in place. However, they have prepared their list of demands. So whether Ukrainian delegation will be willing to listen to those demands remains quite unclear. So at this stage, we understand the sides are going to talk, and that's the objective of the Russian delegation. But as for the result, it is quite unclear whether they will be able to make any sort of breakthrough at all.
Meanwhile, on the battlefront itself, I suppose the intention of both sides is gains on the battlefield will give each one a stronger hand when they meet at the negotiating table. So the timing, perhaps, of Ukraine's Operation Spider, that might be a factor in this. How has Russia responded to Operation Spider's Web?
Well, we have seen the statement coming from the Russian Ministry of Defense, which has underlined that there were 5 regions of Russia, 5 military airfields that were attempted to be attacked. And in 3 cases, those attacks have been prevented. Again, Russia saying that thorough investigation will be conducted, all those responsible will be brought to justice. But we have not heard any other statements, at least from the Kremlin, with regard to the possibility of these developments affecting the negotiations. The head of Russian delegation, Vladimir Medinsky, has earlier been saying that negotiations take place as military actions are ongoing, and that's the normal practice in international relations, according to him. So we understand that at this stage there have been military hardliners who have been saying that Russia should provide a very strong response to those attacks, but others have been suggesting that this is a provocation which is deliberately trying to make Moscow respond, and that would in turn show Moscow as the country that is derailing those negotiations. So at this stage, we understand Moscow is quite tight-lipped when it comes to any sort of a response to these attacks. But obviously, Moscow has been saying that it does have the capacity to end the conflict militarily should the political and diplomatic means fail.
Thanks for that. Dasha Chernyshova live from the Russian capital as Ukraine and Russia meet for their second round of talks, looking to establish at least a short-term ceasefire.